All right, Nick, let's talk about the New York Jets here for a second. This is a team that kind of started off hot, I guess you would say, a little bit, flamed out down the stretch. There was so many different changes at the quarterback position throughout the season. There's moments where you thought maybe Mike White was the guy. Maybe Zach Wilson was going to come back and reestablish himself. Maybe Joe Flacco would have to stay in for the rest of the season. There's so many different options at the quarterback position. That was really their stumbling block going on throughout the season. And that's the big news going into this offseason. What are they going to do at the quarterback position? And we have a story today, Nick, that I think is going to help clarify some things for the Jets and put some options out on the table at the very least. And we'll get in all of that in just a second. But clearly, Jets fans, we talked about the quarterback position. So this next question is not pertaining to the quarterback position. We just want to know in the comment section below, going forward through free agency, the draft, what kind of weapons do you think can be added to this team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball? I think you're pretty set on defense. What offensive weapons do you think would help out a new potential quarterback on this Jets team? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what do you got on the Jets?
Yeah, so anyone who's watched one down of playoff football this postseason has only three words to go back to. Quarterback play matters, and Jets fans know that all too well. And right now, as you alluded to, the Jets are in the market for their next franchise quarterback. And a guy who's been rumored, and the rumors keep growing, is none other than current Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So Peter King, the longtime NFL insider, did a lot of work for Sports Illustrated. He knows his stuff. Peter King doesn't throw things around lightly. Peter King believes that the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, would happily pay a price of at least 2 first-round draft picks and the cap pick requisite to get Aaron Rodgers over the next 2 years. It would be just north of $48.3 million. Miles, we already did a story about the Jets and Woody Johnson willing to pay whatever it takes to get better at quarterback. Peter King coming out and saying that, hey, look, Woody Johnson would be willing to pay the price for Rodgers, the draft picks, the dollars to get him in the building. I think that's an indication that Peter King, either through Johnson or someone on the staff there at the Jets, that the Jets are very interested in and definitely potentially even targeting a trade deal with Aaron Rodgers, who, according to longtime Packers insider and agent Andrew Brandt, has said that there was trade options written into the contract that Aaron Rodgers previously signed with the Packers. It looks like something could be forming here, Miles. What do you think of just the Jets potentially getting Rodgers? Is it a good move? Is it the right move? Is it worth the price? Give me your thoughts on this one.
I think you're lucky if you're the Jets, if you're going into this year, because you had 3 first-round picks last year, and they all seemed to hit relatively well in Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and the pass rusher out of Florida State, Johnson.
Yep.
They all seem to be pretty solid pickups.
Breece Hall in the second round too. It's a good play.
Yes, they're loaded now with young talent, and by all accounts, Nick, if I look at this team, they truly are one of the few teams in the NFL that are almost Los Angeles Rams-esque, where they're just a quarterback away from being big time contenders going to the postseason. And Aaron Rodgers could be a move here that is, beneficial. You look at this receiving core, Elijah Moore is a guy that could be utilized a lot better. He's a weapon at times. He wasn't as utilized this season. But then you look at Garrett Wilson, seems to be a true guy, like a really great player. Corey Davis is a guy who has all the talent, a former top 5 draft pick. He could be developed into something. And Breece Hall, before he was injured, he looked really, really good as well. Then you see Becton coming back into the lineup. That's a very big question mark there, but potentially beefing up this offensive line if he can pan out. So, Nick, I just think all around the ball, you have a lot of pieces. Adding a top-tier quarterback, Aaron Rodgers coming off of multiple MVP seasons, he still has a little bit of gas left in the tank. See if he can get you across the finish line, almost a la a Matt Stafford Rams approach.
Yeah, so that's always the risk-reward situation. Do you pull off what the Rams did with Stafford? You enter Matt Stafford, and suddenly they become a Super Bowl champion? Or do you have what happens to the Denver Broncos last season where they trade for Russell Wilson and the wheels fall off? And that's always the question mark. And I think the big question you have to answer the New York Jets is, are you good at drafting and developing quarterbacks? So you go look at Zach Wilson. No, it didn't work out. You go back to Sam Darnold. No, didn't work out. Hattenberg from Penn State. No, didn't work out. Mark Sanchez, look, I know he went to a couple AFC championship games. He was not a good quarterback. He was a game manager at best. Didn't work out. I mean, I feel like you almost have to go back to a guy like Chad Pennington in the early 2000s for the couple of year runs he had with the Jets there for a little bit, to go back to a quarterback that the Jets organization drafted and developed. So obviously the Jets can't draft and develop a young guy. And it doesn't seem like they're going to have the ability, the way that the teams set up contracts these days, to go out and trade for like a veteran guy, late 20s kind of player, like teams like where the Cardinals locked up Kyler Murray. Everyone obviously locks up with Josh Allen, Joe Burrows, things like that. You're not going to be able to get one of those guys. So I think you have to go older. I think you have to go veteran. And that kind of forces their hand here a little bit. When I talk about quarterback play, Mice, I think if you can get a guy who's with it and smart and knows how to control the flow of the game, which Rodgers can, it really limits your downside. Because I think one of the challenges with Russell Wilson, so much of his game was, outside the framework of the offense. It was scrambling around, throwing up bombs all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work in certain environments. We saw what happened last year in Denver. Aaron Rodgers, much more cerebral, much more can manage the flow of the game and handle those situations. His offsides penalties are a classic example of how he's able to do that. I think it's a better fit. It's a better reward for the risk in this situation. And I think if the Jets have a chance, they probably should make this move. Because right now, you hit on the head, Miles. This is a good roster. And this is a good young roster. And if they can get these guys a good quarterback while these young talented players are cheap and not expensive, they have a chance to really make a move here in an AFC. So I think this is the time to make the move. And I agree with Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, that they should be spending whatever it takes to get a top guy like Rodgers.